Good evening and welcome back to the Placid Plastic Podcast. I'm here with David and a new special guest. Would you like
Please
to...
introduce
Hello.
yourself, Mr. Special Guest.
My name is Daniel, and I am honored to be on this glorious podcast. What's our topic, Lucas?
All right, welcome Daniel. We're happy to have you. And today I was interested. I was thinking, because I've been playing this VR MMO recently, all right, called Zenith. It's pretty interesting. It's gone through a lot of updates to make it a little more playable. It was very empty before, but it made me think, how do you feel about this idea of full dive gameplay? Like we've seen it in Sword Art Online. There's been some other anime that do the same thing. Ready Player One is probably the next closest thing that you could pull from it, but it's highly interactable, practically like unconscious, controlling an avatar in like a sleep state digital world. How do you feel about that idea?
Interesting. I have mixed feelings. If it's a sleep state style, I'm less willing to try something like that because, as shown, like you mentioned Sword Art Online, there's some like very negative ideas and negative problems that can come about from that. But I feel like if I had my body and I was like in my mind, but I was in the game, I feel like I would not mind that quite as much, personally. But it's a very interesting idea, and I feel like we are getting closer to that, especially with the way technology is moving lately.
I love the idea. Like, if it was something more like unconscious, then I feel a little more worried about it. Like, it's like controlling your mind while you're asleep, and then how does it wake you up? Can it keep you asleep? Is there problems for being asleep? If it disconnects, I imagine you would just disconnect, and that would be fine.
Yeah, because my question always be like, what happens if there's like a power outage? Like, you're stuck. Are you stuck in like what happens? You come back to your body. Is your mind like still numbed out? Because yeah, obviously, I'm kind of thinking as like there's like got to be some kind of like anesthesia or some kind of way that it kind of forces you under, kind of thing. But I guess it wouldn't necessarily have to have that.
Here's what I would expect it to interact with your mind, right? So first of all, it has to read your brain waves, right? But it also has to feed your brain waves. So it would have to have some kind of thing that you turn on, you put on your head, or you put on your head, then turn on. And then you have to, I don't know, willingly try to fall asleep or something, if we're following that idea.
Yeah.
And if it lost power, I imagine it just means that it stops transmitting and you wake up. That's all I can expect.
I guess that would make sense. Yeah. Because I just thought about this, but yeah, if you're going in unconscious, there would have to be some kind of way to sustain your life functions. So like maybe like an IV or something that can give you like nutrients or something while you're in that state. Because who's to say how long you're going to be in that state for? Especially if it's a full dive, like Sort of online where your body's in there for days.
Well, that
Or-
is
or even-
something that I wanted to also mention is that your body would still have its regular needs, right? And you would
Right.
feel those because it's still your mind, right? So when you're hungry,
Interesting.
you'll feel hungry. So even if you are hooked up to an IV, you're still gonna get hungry because an IV will provide you with the nutrients, but it won't suppress your.
That's true. It won't like the stomach urges and stuff like that. Or
Exactly.
stomach pains.
And
That's an interesting point.
now, something that I thought was really interesting, and I'll think about this actually afterwards. I want to hear, David, your ideas. What do you think?
I would definitely not do that. I don't like the idea of being put to sleep and playing a game while I'm asleep. Also, VR in general, I just like for the audience, I have the worst eyesight of all time. And whenever I put on a VR headset, I probably get maybe like an hour maybe an hour or two in where I'm like, I got to take this off. I feel nauseous. And I hate the idea of going to sleep and like, okay, now you're playing a game while you're asleep. And, there's obviously some questions like, what if the power goes out? Or what if, like, if I'm asleep, like this is a hypothetical, and somebody comes in and they like hit me while I'm asleep. Do I feel that in the game, or am I suddenly yanked from the game in real life as somebody's hitting me or whatever? Like, there's those questions of like what happens in that circumstance. But it's not really for me. It's not something that I would want to do. It'd be cool to see other people do it and be like, oh, so they're asleep and that's their thoughts are being transmitted into this game. That's pretty cool. But that's not really something I would want to do. Just for my own personal, I'd be like, hey, no, I'm good. I'm just gonna go ahead and pass on that. But I definitely see how it could be cool to do. It's just not something that I would want to personally do myself. So that's pretty much how I feel about that.
Okay, all right. I think for you specifically, as you mentioned, eyesight in this thing wouldn't be a problem because you'd be unconscious, right? So it would just take what you expect to use and it'll autocorrect that stuff because it's not using your literal biology, right?
It'd be kind of like actual like AR combined with VR, in a way.
Sort of, I suppose. Because you wouldn't be like walking around the real world, which is what AR is. It's more of even though I'm using the AR wrong when I say this, applied reality, it's alternate reality, whatever you call it. It's a thing that's more or less projected on the real world, whereas VR is the idea, that we're in a virtual space instead of the real space. And of course, there's mixed reality, which is pretty much AR, but they've taken to using a different term, and XR being the mixed reality symbol, I think is supposed to apply more to hardware, like the Quest Pro is a mixed reality headset because it does VR, but it also does AR, so it's a blend of the two. I think that's what they're going for. I don't know that for sure, but that's what I've come to understand from all that I've read and whatnot. Now, medically speaking, do you think that you could use it on a comatose person?
Man,
I literally had that thought when we were talking about the IV thing, and I was wondering about that. That was my first thought as well. Was like,
well,
if you can find a way to connect to the mind, you could, in theory, have people that are in comas has still experienced life in a way, maybe.
Well, it depends too, because like there's different levels of coma. Like there's just straight
It's
like,
true.
hey, they're a vegetable. Like you're not bringing them back, but they're still in a coma. Or
True, there's no brain
there's
activity.
yeah. So
Yeah.
it depends on how much brain activity you can generate in order to produce some sort of image. I would assume, because if there's somebody that's just straight up like, hey, we gotta unplug them, like they're gone. We're basically keeping them alive, like inhumanely. You could argue and so the question is, could you even use that on someone? And then versus somebody who maybe is kind of in like a medically induced coma for surgery reasons, could you, or some other like heart, brain surgery, whatever, could you use that on them theoretically? But that in itself is crazy to think about, crazy in an interesting way, not in a bad way.
Yeah.
Also, bringing up what you're talking about, David, you could also use that for like medical training. Thinking about it now, you could put students in VR simulations and be like, okay, this is how you're going to hold your scalpel. This is how you're going to do this for these procedures, for these very high risk procedures, to get better surgeons that can be trained and know how to do it from the VR perspective.
It's
That's a
interesting.
fascinating idea.
What's interesting is I hate this game, but they go exactly into that sort of thing in Metal Gear Solid 2, except instead of medical, it's military. So
Yeah.
Raiden's whole backstory was, well, oh, I've done thousands and thousands and thousands of VR and AR missions. I've even done it's kind of meta, but he's like, I've done the whole plot of Metal Gear Solid 1 in VR. And essentially, this was explained and intended by Kojima. But the whole plot of Metal Gear Solid 2, like the story, is essentially Metal Gear Solid 1 redone. Like you've got a cyborg ninja, you've got Liquid's there, but it's Liquid Ocelot, and you've got these new people that are supposed to be the replacements for the Fox unit in the first game, and so it's this meta irony of, how far is technology going to take us? Are we going to get to the point where we can just live our entire lives in electronically and virtually? And so Snake has this conversation with Raiden after he's like, well, I've done thousands of VR missions, and Snake's like, okay, yeah, VR is one thing, but you're in real life now. And so there's it's interesting that we're talking about that medically when Metal Gear was kind of going about it in the military route. And that game is, at this point, 22, 23 years old. So,
You know what's funny is that both are true. Currently, we use VR for medical training. Like, that's a normal thing that's been happening.
Mm-hmm.
And military have been using video games for training for a while. And
Yeah,
they
for
use it
decades,
for,
yeah.
what do you call it? Like drone control and whatnot. Gamers, they use game pads, like all this stuff. Submarines are going to use game pads. It comes full circle. Everybody's using game pads.
well,
And
we know what happens when a submarine uses a gamepad, apparently.
a
Depending
little
on
too
who's
soon.
controlling it. Well, I mean, legitimately, weren't they using like a PS2 or
No, they were.
Logitech controller?
It wasn't even a PS2. It was like an old like Xbox. It was like an off-brand Xbox
Yeah,
controller.
it
or
was like a
something that.
Logitech
That's extremely
gamepad.
depressing. Imagine your life. Imagine your life is in the hands of somebody controlling a Mad Catz controller from 2010.
Yeah.
It's also interesting because talking about VR, like I know from my background in anthropology, they were just starting the experimental stages of trying to create like archaeological digs in VR where they wouldn't have to necessarily dig up the artifacts and stuff, but they could analyze them, use like a almost kind of like a sonar technology to microprocess what the images would look like and then try to recreate them. And so that's also like a similar thing where you could in VR like map out the human body, try to find out what is causing it an ailment or what it like where maybe something is obstructed, kind of like what we do now with like MRI stuff like that. And you could do that in full body and have the person be unconscious so that way they're not in pain or they're like in a medically induced coma and be able to like do all the repairs on them like we do with surgery now, but do it entirely in VR and then go and do the real surgery and pull it off just like that.
Yeah, have practice runs for something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah. And of course, there's only so many things you can do to imitate it. And at a point, if it's lifelike enough, will create a sense of disconnect with either reality or with the games themselves. So this is actually something I've seen on the virtual reality subreddit pretty often, is people who spend a lot of time playing VR start feeling disconnected from their normal life. Like they start feeling like they're controlling themselves, but not in the.
But it's like
yeah,
like it's they're controlling themselves if they're like a video game character, not like as if they're like a person.
exactly. Like their mind is even more. I don't want to say recessed because that makes it sound like they're.
I think it's called like disassociation. I've heard of
Yeah.
the same similar thing. It's like a psychological term where you like disassociate with yourself.
Exactly.
That's interesting.
And that's kind of what happens to some people. This doesn't happen to me, and I spend a lot of time in VR, so I don't feel that.
I was gonna bring up the point. I was like, I wonder if we would get to the point where if we have this full body VR and there's enough people that do it 24/7, like would people get PTSD from not being in the VR world? Would they come to love the VR world more? And that's actually their home in comparison to the reality. Because I feel like that's kind of the plot behind Ready Player One.
Now you're just straight up quoting the Matrix at this point.
Oh yeah, the Matrix is even a better example.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was gonna go with it. Is like at some point, if it becomes like what people prefer to do, like Zuckerberg's metaverse is more possible and tangible than people expect it to be, because he tried to force it down people's throats in a way that nobody cared about. It wasn't ready. People didn't want to do all this stuff. And then he creates the MetaQuest Pro, which is $1,500 at launch for something that has, I think, worse resolution but better screens, so things look better but aren't necessarily clearer in the same way. And it's an expensive way to get started on doing what? NFTs? Fungible tokens that aren't. Nobody cares about that.
In fact, there is a plot line in the first Matrix where the character Cypher that betrays the entire crew, the reason why he betrays them is because he's like, I don't want to be in the real world. I'd rather live in the Matrix. And that's why
that's true.
He has that meeting with Agent Smith and he's like, I was brought out, Morpheus had unplugged him, quote unquote, from the machine. And he realized that ignorance was bliss and he'd rather be blue pilled in the context of the movie, blue pilled just in the machine forever. And you would, in fact, I wouldn't even say probably, you'd certainly see a lot of people that would prefer to live their entire lives in this VR world as opposed to the real world for various reasons. So if somebody was unplugged, they might have a situation like that where they're like, no, I don't want to plug me back in. I don't want to do this. And, that's an interesting, that movie's from 1999 and you see a lot of people that are kind of like that nowadays that would rather live in a virtual world than the real world, for various reasons. So
I feel
just kinda
that,
interesting
not
to
gonna
see.
lie. Actually, and that brings me to another thing very related to this, is there's this manhwa that I've been reading. Manhwa is Korean manga. It's just the same thing, but different place. And this one's called Arcane Sniper. But what it's about is this guy. He was a sniper in the military, and after I believe a munitions malfunction, an explosion happens, and he gets hurt pretty bad. He loses his legs, essentially. He has them, but he can't use them. And so his buddy buys him a full dive VR system to play this cool MMO or whatever. But the MMO's currency is able to be redeemed for real world currency. And of course, they use a Korean currency. I don't really know how it relates. I do know how yen relates, so it kind of is more of that approach where like 1,000 is closer to maybe $10 for us, and that, or one is like a cent, is what I'm trying to say. But point is, he essentially makes his living in this VR world because it's not only is an expensive thing to do, so it costs a lot of money to do, but it gives him the ability to use his legs, so he stays in it doing a lot of things, but he comes out to eat and take care of himself. And he ends up doing some overpowered stuff and a whole bunch of story things that don't matter, because I'm talking about the idea of the system he has instead.
So he's like gaining real world currency through a VR game.
Exactly, doing real quests that take real effort, like a fetch quest or a delivery quest. He has to take a lunchbox to the royal city or something. Whoa.
I mean, in some ways that already happens with current MMOs. You think about like I play the Elder Scrolls Online. It's an MMO that I play a lot, and there's always people trying to sell gold for the crowns, which are like the in-game currency that are used for the cosmetic store. But people will trade crowns also for in-game gold. They'll buy crowns themselves with real-world money and try to buy up massive amounts of gold to buy equipment or buy stuff or even buy like runs, stuff like that. So I feel like we're already pretty much kind of almost already there where you probably could make some kind of living in that. It's not exactly like that because I don't think it would be a great living, and I don't think you could live off it as like your solo form of income. But we're kind of already there at that point where you can, like with NFTs, trade real world currency for digital, and then also have that digital currency represent some form of real currency that you can trade into someone who thinks it's at that same value.
You know what's a great example of that, actually? Counter-Strike. CSGO.
Oh yeah, yeah, but the skins.
Exactly,
Yeah.
they're skins. They're practically NFTs as it is. They're not like what do you call it?
It's kind of like
crypto, but it works. People sell that stuff for thousands of dollars sometimes.
And that's the kind of thing with any kind of collecting hobby. I mean, I used to also collect action figures, but I used to also be very big into trading cards, where certain first editions of certain cards that are very rare, like Blaine's Charizard, will go for thousands upon thousands of dollars, even though it's technically doesn't have any, like, even in the real world, no like literal value. Like it's just a piece of paper with some colors printed on it.
Yeah.
But other people's estimations of its value place it at like at least $10,000, $2,000, $5,000, what have you. Where and that's I don't know, that is a really interesting concept of like digital materialism.
Now, I do believe there are some regulations in place, maybe in the country or maybe in what do you call it, the state, that make it so that you can't just use real money for game money and redeem it in the same way. I don't know the details. I heard about this a long time ago because I was like, why isn't that a thing? And I think that was my answer, was that there was regulations in place to keep that from happening.
That would probably fall under like the esports betting gambling kind of idea, where they don't want that to like have a 1-to-1 ratio of being able to be equal. Because I think it's like the same thing with like gift cards. If you look at the back of, like, if you buy a gift card in a store and you look at the back of it, it says it's not redeemable for cash value, but it is redeemable up to a certain amount for whatever trade you're using to exchange it for.
Yeah.
Or whatever item you're using to exchange it for, but it's still not worth the actual cash value.
Yeah, because there are things that I think, what are they called? Coin stars? Some coin stars allow you to redeem gift cards for money.
Yeah, you can. You can like exchange them for certain amounts.
And I think what was it? Yeah, so a company, in order to make it so that you could generate money, essentially, that's what it would do, is they would just have to have a massive amount of capital. Like, they'd have to have so much money that they could pay out when people try to redeem their money. So if I made $10,000 in a video game, that translates to $10,000 in real life. That company would have to give me $10,000 because that's where the money's coming from. That's where what I've earned, right? So they would need so much money to just constantly be coming in and out and moving around that they'd have to essentially just be a printer at that point. And that might mess with inflation in a way that you wouldn't expect.
That would, yeah, that's true, because you do already, like, in digital marketplaces, like.
We hear you now, but you cut out at the beginning of what you were saying, so we didn't hear any of it.
Okay. I'm going to try to rejoin. But essentially, the essence of what I was saying was that there's already kind of inflation in a lot of video games. So, for example, on the PC North America server, certain materials or certain crafting materials will go for cheaper than they will on, say, consoles, because it's easier to farm materials there, and there's more players, there's a wider player base, and there's more bots that can be created to farm certain materials, especially higher end materials, than there are on, say, the PS4 or Xbox One servers.
Right.
So there's already kind of like
say
a
the name of
digital
the game
inflation.
again.
Elder Scrolls Online.
Oh, yes. Oh, okay.
And so there's already more digital, like, literal digital inflation already happening and stuff like that. So I feel like that would probably be a very common thing to happen if say if we're using like what you were talking about with the example of gift cards. Because you think how many gift cards you see in like a grocery store when you walk into them. There's so many like DoorDash or Domino's or whatever gift cards just on the rack. If someone purchased like all of those at once, that'd be a massive loss for the company. And try to like redeem it all at the same time.
Yeah, because it doesn't really cost them that much to really sell, especially if it's a gift card that you load a dollar amount to. Mm-hmm. How does that money move around?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's an interesting, the real world ramifications of such a blended VR idea that would apply, and all the things that it could do. But man, yeah, like, if I could learn magic and stuff and make money doing magic things, regular old adventure questing and whatnot, I think I might want to do that instead, you know?
It would be really interesting because you would kind of see, I feel like, this return, depending on the type of game it is and stuff, you might return to see, because, you know, a lot of like trade skills nowadays aren't as quote unquote valued, and there's a need for a lot of tradesmen, or not just tradesmen, tradeswomen, tradespeople. But in MMOs and stuff like that, there are similar requirements where you need crafters that design like swords or magic staffs, or like you're saying, like enchanting spells or something like that. So those craftspeople would probably still fill that niche, and you could maybe make a living off that.
Yeah, that's another thing that I'd think about is, like, I love the idea of like smithing, of creating things. It's like my favorite thing to do in video games. Like, as much as poor as this game is, RuneScape, the crafting for like armor and stuff is so much more involved than so many other games, and it's so simple. It's mine ore, smelt ore, shape ore, done. And even then, like in this game that I'm playing, Zenith, you can't do that. You collect things. You can mine ore, chop down trees, and then you go over to a digital work table, put resources inside, hit a button, and hammer it. That's it. And the hammering is a little weird. I don't know how it works. At one point, it wants you to do it in rhythm, and that's fine, unless I'm just doing it wrong the entire time, and it was supposed to be in rhythm the whole time, and it doesn't tell you because I've been messing it up so much that it finally tells me after I'm almost done. But the those kinds of, what would you say? What's it called? accuracy. The accuracy you would have, the skill that you'd build up, hand doing it in a, let's say, a full dive would be so much more important, because swinging controllers around and feeling no resistance can only do so much for you. It's great
Right.
for your reflexes, like, oh, something's flying at you and you dodge it. Oh, now you're good at it. If something's actually flying at you, you might be better at dodging it. Because I've had that experience. I can catch things that I drop much better when I spend more time in VR. And think similar ideas. Dodging arrows in Blade and Sorcery allows me to dodge baseballs if they were moving slower. There's so many real things that will translate, as Assassin's Creed like to call it, the bleed effect.
Yeah.
And yeah.
That just made me think of like another question, and maybe I'm gonna throw this over to Vincito. But like, do you think that those skills would translate to real life, and do you think your body would undergo like physical changes, like say, because blacksmithing, like you were talking about, whiskey, like it's very you gain a lot of muscle doing that because it's a very heavy thing. You have to like crack the metal, you have to be able to shape it. Do you think your body would actually change, like undergo the physical changes, or do you think it would stay the same?
I don't think your body would change, because in order to gain muscle, your actual joints and your muscle structure needs to constantly move. So it's interesting if you think about the act of lifting weights to
Mhm.
gain muscle. All you're doing over and over is lifting heavy objects repeatedly, and that builds muscle because you're physically exerting yourself. You're burning calories. You're gaining muscle. Doing something online, you're not really doing any of that. You're gaining the mental skill to know how to blacksmith. So if I got out of this program, spending hours and hours and hours blacksmithing, I can come out of the program and know how to forge a sword. However, if I go to an actual real life blacksmith and try to physically do it, I'm going to have a hard time because I don't have the body structure or the energy in real life to forge a sword. And that's why you need like real physical exercise in order to do that in real life. But again, because I have the mental understanding and I know how to forge a sword, I could go back into this hypothetical video game or simulation and forge a sword in the video game. And that's kind of what, again, to go back to Metal Gear Solid 2, that's kind of what Snake was trying to hammer home to Raiden, because he's like, well, Raiden was like, I don't understand why I'm struggling to do, some of these things. I mean, I've done all these simulations, and yeah, you can spend hours and hours simulating how to do something, but you need real life on the ground experience in order to properly understand how it works. So I do think your body would not change, but however, you would have the mental understanding to do some of those things. I mean, if I spent hours and hours simulating myself as a football player, as a quarterback, and I understood I understood a playbook, I understood how to throw the perfect touchdown, I could do that. But if you put me in the middle of an actual football game and I get sacked once, I'm out, because I don't have the physical conditioning to handle getting tackled by these 200, 300-pound linemen, even though I understand how to be the perfect quarterback. So I guess that would be an apt comparison there, if that answers your question.
That does answer my question. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
think that's the best way you could answer that, is that your body's not actually physically doing it, so then it doesn't gain the benefits. Your mentality does, but like I said before with the VR and the reflexes, like I'm getting those reflexes because I am actually physically moving. All right, like it can trigger the response in your mind, and then your body's gonna try to move. But if you're not actually used to doing those movements, it's not going to be nearly as effective to do.
That makes sense. I was thinking more of like so if it's like a full body immersion, like if it's something where, because it's a video game, so I don't think this would be as real, but like say it's something, one of those things like in Sword Art Online where you feel pain or you feel some kind of like your body physically receives the effects of what happens to you.
Yes.
I was taking that on like the long idea of like, well, if that happens, that means also whatever you build in that game, whatever like the muscles or whatever food or whatever you're eating, there has to be some kind of physical reaction as well. That's where I started extrapolating that from.
I think the Matrix would be more apt for it, because in
Probably.
the Matrix, the damage you receive in the Matrix applies directly to your body. But
To you.
in Sword
That's true.
Art, it's just the pain you feel, right?
I think so. I feel like later on in Sword Art they also explained that like because like people can die from it, so there's like something, but I believe that's caused by like a gas or something like that. So I think you're right. I think probably the Matrix is the
I
better
feel
way to
like
look at it.
I've only seen like the first arc of season 1, so if it's
So-
something they explain later, then I have no clue.
this is a pretty common held belief in everyone that I've talked to that has watched Sword Art. And I've back in my when I was knee deep in anime way back in high school, I watched a lot of Sword Art back then.
Hmm.
Um, I know that the show starts out good, but then as it goes on throughout the years, it slowly gets worse and worse. And that's from me watching it and stopping at a certain point where I was like, this sucks. And a lot of other people I personally know that have told me Sword Art sucks. And I feel like, honestly, I don't know how far they could have taken this, but if Sword Art just really just kind of followed like Matrix sort of, and just kind of stuck to a Matrix sort of scenario, it could have been a much better received anime. I feel like it took a lot of concepts from the Matrix and other media that kind of deals with that, but just half-assed a lot of things. And apparently, like as the show goes on, characters just completely get like destroyed, and like their character motivations are just completely destroyed and whatnot, and so on and so forth. But I feel like Sword Art would have worked and been more successful if it just really closely followed like the Terminator or the Matrix and made it a little bit more, or Blade Runner and made it a little bit more dystopian. But they tried to put this like engaging concept of you die in the game, you die in real life, and you know, can you in this quest in this game, or et cetera, et cetera. But try to put it in the confines of like a romantic / comedy anime at times, and I just feel like for as a whole it didn't really work out, which is why a lot of people say as the anime goes on it takes a nosedive in quality.
I kind of agree with that. I mean I haven't seen all of it. I've seen I think the first season, the second season, and I've seen Alice, which may or may not be a third season, or if I don't know if that's like a spin-off thing. But I would agree there's a quality dip, and I think there's also I think you're right about it taking ideas, and I think if it held something more true to like something like Blade Runner, I think it would work better as a story.
Uh,
I think also the fact that the story is written to be like a teen, like you're saying, like a teen thing, they have to like accelerate some ideas so it's not as deep as it could be.
But the problem with that is there's like a billion different teen like anime, like I don't know,
This is
like,
true.
I mean,
and-
that's
and-
the primary
yeah, like
people.
but
like young
I feel
adult.
like
Yeah.
you could but see what I'm saying here is you could turn Sword Art Online into sort of a Blade Runner type scenario to separate it from all the other types of young adult teen animes, to really put it head and shoulders above and make it more, because nobody really cares about Sword Art Online anymore nowadays. I mean, the big animes are Demon Slayer, Jujutsu Kaisen, and some other things. And the reason why those in particular, not only because of their great animation, but they're unique in concept, even though they do draw from other anime. The problem with Sword Art Online is not only did it dip in quality, it ended up becoming generic, just another harem anime, pretty much. And there's billions and billions and billions of harem anime, and I feel like if they really had tried to put it in the framing of like a dystopian Blade Runner, Terminator type setting, it would have really helped its quality stay consistent, and would have helped it become sort of a timeless anime. And I mean, this is my own personal opinion. I don't know. I could be wrong, but just from what I've seen and what I hear from other people who used to love the show, but just stopped watching it, that's just what I can infer.
I did hear that the most recent season that aired was made Sword Art good again. That's the last I heard about it, and I don't remember. I think it aired maybe last year at this point. And yeah, one of my friends was constantly saying like, yeah, you should watch it. It's better. It's good again. Like it's closer to how it was in the beginning. There's a lot more cool moments. It's a lot better. It's less stupid. Whatever. I don't think a dystopian idea would really work for what Sword Art Online is.
I kind of gonna agree with Lucas because it's like
I'm saying if they had at the beginning, if they had made it a like,
Well, then it'd just be a different thing.
the real world aspect. I agree with David. The real world aspect to make it dystopian would I think allow a lot of like greater ideas to flow through that are more original. But I think because of the way that it's set in like this weird fantasy universe, but also has like a real life thing, I don't think they could pull it off.
I don't think it would be all that original. We have The Matrix, which is the thing, dystopian reality and artificial world inside. And then you also have oh man, what was it
I
called?
mean, it kind of copies like Ender's Game in a way as well.
Ready Player One is the same
Yeah,
idea as well.
yeah,
You have
where
this
it's like you're in a
dystopian
simulation.
reality, and you use the VR to escape it all. And like, I those have been hailed as great things. I'm not going to say it was a bad idea, but I don't think it would make it more original necessarily, especially since you were already citing various things that it could be more like. Takes away what would be original about it, Does that make sense?
That's fair. Yeah, I think that's fair.
Now, could it be improved with changes? Absolutely, everything can be improved. If it took a darker tone, I do agree that could be um, an interesting take, but I don't think that's the story they wanted to tell. I think they wanted to create something else. But without watching enough of it, I can't actually tell you what that's supposed to be.
I was gonna say, I feel like they tried to go with a darker tone for both Alicization and for the latter half of season 1, but it didn't. That's the part where I personally was like, okay, I'm gonna stop watching this. It's kind of like boring.
I know the biggest drawback.
The most recent one.
I know the biggest drawback that was a huge common criticism was the main female lead. They actually had something unique where she was very she's quite the badass and very independent, if you will, which when the first season came out wasn't all that common in that setting. But then apparently in a later season, they basically revert her to a damsel in distress and have like a pseudo sexual assault scene and just revert her into eye candy and this damsel in distress again. I know a lot of people, not only here in the States, but back in Japan, were like, oh, so we're just doing this to her now, huh? And I feel like that was a huge criticism and one of the reasons why people were just kind of turned off by the anime. It's like, oh, you took this unique character who was really cool and really something that was a breath of fresh air and reverted her back to just another harem type, damsel in distress girl. I don't know if I'm sure you may know what I'm talking about, Daniel, but
I believe so. Yeah, I actually agree with that statement as well. The main female character. It's like because it happens kind of like it almost happens.
It
I
happens
think in
in the
season
first
one,
season.
like,
Yeah, it's the second arc.
and I think they continue that forward into the second season that I've seen, and they also do that in Alicization as well, where it's like she's supposed to be there, but they're trying to rescue her, and that's like part of the key plotline is like how did she get into this other universe? Like why is she there?
Yeah, that is really annoying.
And it's very like, can we move on to something else? Because like this character was once a very strong like female character in a genre that does tend to have very like watered down female characters, and then they took her and were like, okay, now she's just gonna be like the love interest, and it's a little disappointing.
I think Alicization is season 3 and 4.
Okay, that's what I thought. That's the most recent one that I've seen, and I think I've seen pretty much the entirety of it.
Yeah, so they split the last arc, I think, into 2 parts. There's the War of the Underworld, and then the beginning half or something. At least that's what I'm gathering from the Wikipedia page.
Yeah, and that would track for about the time of when I would have seen it. So that was in like the later stages of like my college career when I was watching it.
Yeah,
and I'm also speaking as like not really that big of a fan of Sword Art Online. I like the idea of it is very interesting for this kind of discussion. But as like I'm a fan of this anime, I'm like, eh.
Yeah, once I finished the first arc, it seemed like the second arc just didn't matter. It's just another crazy person who locks you out of login. Or actually, I don't even know if that did happen. Either way,
that was the whole second season is very weird because it's about a killer who was formerly part of an assassination guild in the first season, but is able to do it in the real world, even though they're not supposed to have. It's very strange, even though they're not supposed to have like access to that kind of information, which is again that kind of draws it back to the idea of like, will certain changes happen? Because like the idea, like I think the guy in the game who's the killer was very like scrawny, but eventually got like buffer once he was in the real world because he's like, oh, I want to go out and like kill people because that's what I did in the game before. That's what I want to do now. But yeah, it's the second season is not as good in my opinion.
That does bring up the questions we were asking in the beginning. Is when does it when do you start blurring the lines of who you are as a person and what you do and think is okay? Because you're like, oh,
That's
you start
true.
out, oh, I'm gonna role play, right? I'm gonna be an assassin. I kill people, and then you're like, wait, I actually really liked killing people in the game. I wonder what it's like to do it in real life. Like, do you go back? Do you just try that again? Do you become, or does it become so blended that you don't even think it's a different thing?
Yeah, do you even realize that you're not even in the game anymore at that point? Do
Yeah.
you realize that you're in a different altered reality? Well, we would consider the true reality, but for them, that might just be an altered reality.
Yeah, like self-induced psychosis from playing too many video games. It's the worry
Yeah.
of every mother
Yeah, I was
ever.
gonna say, every politician ever that has ever had a gripe about video games.
But they're reasonable questions. Of course, controllers and Grand Theft Auto, it's not the same. But when it comes to something where you are physically doing well, not physically, digitally doing the things, but it feels like you're physically doing the things, that makes things a lot more interesting. And
that brings up another interesting question. So, like, you know how there's the idea of like phantom limbs and stuff like that for veterans who have lost their limbs or parts of their body. Like, how would that work in like a VR setting? Because it's like the manga that you brought up. Like, how would that work? Like, that's got to have some kind of like PTSD or some kind of like psychosis that would bring up out from like switching back and forth to having limbs and then not having limbs or having like functions that you wouldn't normally have.
Yeah,
Like,
like imagine you just have to feel to use magic, and then you go into the real world and you're like, I'm gonna do that. I can't do that.
you know, I wish that, so there's that movie series Avatar. I wish they talked about that more because like the avatars in that game, or not that game, but the movie, they're much larger creatures. So there would have to be like some kind of transition that would happen when you get back to your real body where you're like, oh, I can't move as far. I can't like, or even the fact they have tails. Like you'd be like, oh, I had a tail before that was like essential to how I move around on my locomotion. But now I don't have it. So I feel like there would have to be some kind of adjustment period from when you're coming back from that state to like getting back into like how you regularly move, especially if you do it long term.
Did you watch the second one?
I did see it.
Okay.
See it.
Yeah,
They
I haven't seen it at all. I don't care though.
There's actually like an interesting moment in that where they bring up this idea of being able to transfer someone's consciousness from a computer back into one of those bodies that doesn't even need the avatar, like the avatar portion at all. You don't need the human portion at all, which is kind of a weird idea, but I feel like it's something that we are steadily getting closer to as computers become more and more like human brains, where there's so much that they can do. I feel like it will be possible sometime, probably in the more distant future, to put some version of a human consciousness into a technological body.
That's a completely different philosophical thing, but loosely relates because video games, Soma, I believe, is the game where you transfer your mind into different bodies, and it turns out it's just copying.
Yeah, there's been numerous movies and video games about that kind of thing.
And it goes even into like the concept of teleportation as we know it through things like Star Trek, where you disassemble someone and put them back together. Are you the same person?
Yeah, it's like the what is that old philosophical argument? Is it the Ship of Theseus?
Yeah,
where
Ship of
if you replace one thing, is it the same thing again? Like, is it an entirely new being, or are you the same being that you were before?
Yeah, and that's such an interesting idea. The way it comes down to like if you're just taking atoms from somewhere and then turning them into brand new atoms from another area. Sorry, the game is giving me weird perspectives. Oh gosh, yeah. When you deconstruct your entire brain and put it back together, like you're ceasing the function. You're essentially killing what you were, right? When you die and come back in like regular circumstances, but does the previous version of you stay dead, and then your brain just reboots and it's like it doesn't know that it died before, kind of a thing?
Yeah, that's such an interesting concept, because especially bringing it back to like the VR, if you're in a full dive VR, like each time you die, like obviously you would respawn because it's a game, but would that cause like psychological trauma for you because you're in a situation where like some giant implement is coming and gonna smash you, or some rock is gonna smash you, or some giant blade is gonna slice you in half? Like, would that cause over time, would that cause physical trauma to the brain
No,
because it has to like experience that so much?
I think that depends highly on how a game would handle it. If it's a game that says, "Oh, we're going to completely like disconnect you for a second and then reconnect you as you come back," that might actually cause some problems. But if it's like, "Oh, you died. Here. Here's your ghost now," right? Like your body
Right.
fell over and now you're just in ghost mode. You can do all the normal movements within yourself, but you can't interact with the world until you respawn. Like that makes sense. In the manhwa I'm reading, I think what happens when they die is that it forcefully locks them out because there's like a penalty. If you die, you can't log in for the next like 3 hours or something like that. I don't remember. And I think that would also create kind of a weird reaction. But Log Horizon, I've only watched some of the anime.
I don't think I've ever heard of it.
It's essentially it's like an isekai idea, but it's a bunch of people who play this video game suddenly find themselves actually in that video game, and if they die, they respawn. But if they die too much, they start losing their memory. So
Oh, that's such an interesting idea.
yeah, as some people keep dying, they start to only know the world that they're currently in and no longer the world they came from.
That is basically exactly the same explanation for what happens in Sword Art Online Alicization, where it was like a game, but people, because it was like a simulation that was being run, the characters in it eventually over so many generations of producing people, producing another generation, essentially forgot that they were in a simulation and it became real to them.
How interesting.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, that's the idea, and because in Long Horizon, I don't know the way it ends or anything like that, and it kind of got really boring. But the concepts they were approaching were very interesting, and they take in this idea of this world still reacts kind of like the game, but you don't get menus anymore, right? Your magic is done by you feeling the magic and doing the magic.
And that's essentially the plot of the movie Ender's Game, where it's an older movie, so I'm going to spoil this for anyone that hasn't seen it. You might not want to listen to this part, but essentially you find out that Ender, who is this like military like prodigy that these adults have been trying to goad by showing him very like essentially by putting him through the actual rigors of military training as a child, they've molded him into this prodigal military genius, and eventually at the very end you find out that all these skirmish battles that he's been fighting amongst his own people with his own troops against what he thinks is a simulation against other cadets is actually really not. He's actually taken essentially a fleet and they're actually fighting a real alien force in space, and all of the losses that he's been incurring and stuff are actually real people that are dying, that are other troops of his that are actually out there dying. And it's this very big moment at the very end of it where he realizes what he's done, and it almost like at the very end it kind of implies that like it mentally like scars him a bit when he finds out that he's essentially been sending, because he's like more of a strategist than a humanist, he's been using forces in ways to like, well, kill X number of the enemy by just using this force or sacrificing this group of soldiers. And you find out at the end like they're all people that he's essentially killed because he sent them off to their death to fight in this war that he didn't even know that he was a part of.
Yeah,
So
I read the book a long time ago, like
yeah,
middle school.
I read the book more recently, about a year ago, and it was a very interesting read, and it's very like it talks a lot about that, about like how far, like where does the line separate between a simulation and a non-simulation, which again ties back to the idea of VR, which is supposed to be, you know, virtual reality, an altered state of reality, versus like the real world.
Yeah, it's a lot of very good questions that you can bring up into this idea that we've been working with is when does virtual reality stop being virtual, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a crazy and interesting idea, and you know what? I still think that I would do it. I would totally full dive if I could experience it, and then decide, you know, oh, okay, I'm done with it. Of course, I don't want to spend $30,000 on a little what's that guy in Star Trek who drives in a little box?
Oh, Captain Pike.
Yeah,
With
Pike.
the little clicker, the blinking light for yes and no.
Yeah, if I just had to plug into that for like few hours to experience it, sure, that sounds kind of cool. But yeah, I don't think I want to spend a down payment on a house or even a shit. I don't even know
I
if
think
that's enough for a down payment on a
I
house.
think at that point it would go beyond the point of it being entertainment, because like you think about entertainment, what you spend on entertainment is something to entertain you for a period of time.
Yeah,
I feel like at that point, if you're spending that much, it's literally not entertainment. That's lifestyle at that point. That's actually like living.
yeah, and that would be a metaverse in itself.
Yeah.
It would be something that people do because it can make them money. It's what Zuckerberg, like I said in the very beginning, really actually wants to do. He wants to create a digital world where people can treat money like money, but make money in the same way. Like, hey, dude, your avatar bought some new kicks because you're stupid. But now you actually made that money off of not actually having to physically make shoes. You still had to design them and all that, but the type of work is very different. And there's only one of it, but even though it's still like code, it's like encrypted in a way that it can't be duplicated so easily, which is a wild idea. But I think if we start inching closer and closer towards this full dive, more and more and more immersive VR, there's a lot of incredible products out there.
I was going to say it's very interesting with the economies of it, because like in a lot of MMOs which have virtual economies, you get people that are what are called whales, that are people that spend a lot of actual in-game money and they keep the game running by buying all the latest purchases, all the latest cosmetic fashions. I wonder if you would get a similar example of that in the economics in a metaverse type state. I wonder if that would be a similar thing that would carry over.
I absolutely believe it would be. You'd have people who just spend so much time in it that they, keep acquiring. If they don't already have the money, they'll be acquiring it within there, and then they'll just
And then
use
spending
it.
it.
You'll have
That's interesting.
you'll have new businesses, new banks, like all these things. They would exist. It's just the time's got to be right for it. I know a lot of people were telling me I should get into designing things for the metaverse, whatever. I don't remember what the hell it was called. Horizon, something like that. It was the metaverse app. I never bothered making an account or looking at it, but people were telling me like, yeah, learn to design things for avatars and whatnot, and you can sell them to people. It's gonna be big. I was like, I don't
Yeah.
think it's gonna be big. I'm someone who really likes VR, and I think it's stupid. The way it's going to interact right now, it's not good enough.
Yeah, definitely right now I don't think it's big enough, but I think potentially in the future, if they are able to pull off states where people could be in this world for 8, 10, 20 hours plus without a lot of physical repercussions, I think it will get larger and it will expand.
Absolutely. I think, like I said about VR products, there are there's a full body haptic suit. It's like a morph suit with a bunch of sensors and things inside of it, or not sensors, like haptic devices and whatnot. And I was actually watching a video about this a few days ago. Apparently, the startup didn't have enough money to meet their deliveries because the prices of their materials skyrocketed shortly after they started doing it. So they couldn't actually finish it. So they're actually having some trouble right now, unfortunately. But the idea was a suit that acts as a full body haptic, so you can feel interaction with things as much as light vibrations can do, and a full body tracker as well, so that you can move your whole body. And those full body trackers aren't new. Like, people have been using those for years now. HTC has old ones. They're coming out with new ones. There's other brands that do these things where you just put them on, and they call them, I think, lighthouse builds. You have the IR sensors that you put up for like a Valve Index or an HTC Vive, or the things that don't have inherent tracking for headset, like the Quest. The Quest will track your controllers, the headset by itself. The Index, however, uses the lighthouses to track where your controllers are and where your headset is. So it doesn't necessarily know where it by itself is. So trackers are a thing that have been used, right? That's not new. That's not even the important part of what I'm saying. So you have those full body interactions is what I'm getting at. And you can use your hands, your legs, your hips, like your body, your avatar are more one, right? People see and how you interact. The metaverse, by trying to implement hand tracking, was trying to go through that same idea, but it doesn't track the rest of you. They added legs and stuff, and they may have added the rest of the body tracking, but it's not inherent to the Quest by itself yet. I think they might actually be trying to do that, and I heard that the Quest Pro controllers, because they have cameras on those, might actually move towards tracking your body for you, so you don't have to wear anything or rely on just one set of cameras. And the final thing that I was getting at with all of this is VR treadmills. They're not treadmills in the traditional sense of something that moves under you and you walk, but sliding, like the, what's it called, the catwalk or the Omni. I think they're the two leading ones right now.
The Omni I've seen before. Yeah, that one's interesting.
Omni, I think, has been around longer, but is also like there's an MB2, right, that we live relatively near. They have an Omni VR arena where you get these old-ass Vive controllers, and then you strap into their treadmill, put on the headset, and you walk around and you shoot your friends, and it's all, a little gaming thing. Then they're now selling a consumer edition that you can buy for your house. And it's incredibly easy to set up. I think it's got a wider base, so you can take longer strides. But if your feet go straight backwards, don't take too long of strides because you'll kick the leg or the arm that keeps you secured. But all these things put together create an experience that you can't get just standing still waving your arms around. Being able to use your legs to, let's say, kick something is a crazy thought to do, because I kick things in Blade and Sorcery. I can't kick things in anything else because they just don't put the function in. Having a full body tracking setup with the ability to walk around, like I keep referencing it, Ready Player One. I didn't even know this stuff. I haven't seen the movie. I haven't read the book. So I've just seen other people referencing it. Is very interesting. And that level of immersion is most likely going to come first before we hit anything that interfaces directly with your brain.
That would make sense to me as well, just for safety purposes. Because again, just we know so little about the brain, we don't know what doing certain things to it would cause it to do. That's why, like I was talking about with the trauma thing earlier, of like dying over and over again. Like, from my understanding of the way the brain works, I feel like that would cause recurring trauma to occur.
Yeah, and I think that each brain works differently. Our thoughts work differently. The way I think, the way you think, and the way David, who quietly sits in the corner, thinks.
Mm-hmm.
There it is. I was waiting for a response.
I'd be in the corner. I'd be in the corner, just chilling with the headset on.
But yeah, like the way our brains work might not actually work in the same way. The way I imagine things, people have internal monologues, right?
Right.
But not everybody has internal monologues.
Right, and there's even people that, like, some people can, like, visualize objects or colors and stuff, what have you, as like they can see it within their mind's eye, for lack of a better wording.
Yeah, your imagination.
But there's some people that
see
can't even do
things.
that. Yeah, and there's some people that literally physically cannot do that.
Yeah, I think that's crazy. I have an internal monologue and I can picture things within my mind. The fact that there are people, an astoundingly large amount of people that don't think like that is crazy to me.
Yeah, it's very like alien, because you're like, how do you
think?
like...
Is it purely reactionary? Because I can, and I'm sure everyone can do this. When you try to think of a sentence, right? Like, you can think out the whole sentence, but you already know what you're going to think out for that sentence. You don't need to say every word inside your head, because if you did that, it would take forever to talk. Having a conversation would take so damn long because nobody's thinking or everybody's thinking about the words they wanted to say as they're saying it and reading it in their head, and then like no, that would just it would slow things down so much. So like the impulse of your brain coming up with the concepts that you're trying to spout is so much faster than the thought process of if I was going to think of this sentence, it's going to take me roughly the same amount of time as it would for me to say it as it would to think it, even though I already know what I'm going to say and think at the same time. Does that make sense?
That does make sense, actually. I had an interesting experience with a professor in college, actually, that the way he taught, you could tell that he was always, whenever people would have questions, he was already like, as soon as you saw the hand go up, he was already thinking of what their question was going to be, and so he would start speaking before they'd actually like fully heard their question. And it would always be very interesting because someone would ask a question that would not be what he expected, and he'd have to. It was almost like watching a computer stop for a second, or like seeing like a fan on a computer stop for a second as he like processed it as they were saying it. It was a very interesting experience for me in college to see this happen.
You know, I think we have those interactions like with each other. I feel like I'm in the middle of saying something, and then you're like, oh, this, and I'm like, close, but actually not. And I do that all the time as well. Like, oh, you're gonna say this. No, you're not. Oops. Like,
yeah, it was just very interesting to see like the physical perspective, seeing it happen before me. Because like that kind of thing happens all the time where you're like, or you're processing something and then you're like, oh wait, no, it's actually this, and but seeing like physically the person stop and be like processing, you're like,
yeah,
oh, okay.
right. Wait, let me reverse my thought process real quick. Turn on the time warp. All right, we're good. Anyway. Yeah, no, it's the brain is an interesting place, and so are the places that we wish we could go to. But we won't go there within this episode, that's for sure, because we've hit our hour time mark.
Time flies when you're having fun, boys. Now, I think what would be fun is if we had Daniel go through all of the ducks we have collected since the beginning. I want to see him just kind of go through the list of everything that we've seen, so he kind of catches up on all the ducks that we've witnessed in our time. And if you're not sure which duck is what, we can help you there. But if you want to just we do this at the end of every episode where we just kind of go through usually the ducks that have been added since then. But I think it'd be fun if we just kind of had Daniel do a full recap so far of everything we've gotten.
I was thinking the exact same thing.
Yeah, I'm fine with trying that. Yeah,
all right.
Do I just click around?
Start with yours.
Start with mine.
Okay.
And that'll do it in order.
I have to find mine. Where is mine?
Actually, order doesn't matter. Never mind. Yeah, start with yours.
Yeah.
Oh wait, I found mine actually.
Yeah, you're in the little pool.
So mine is it's a panda bear duck. It's got little black wings and a little black beak and then a white body, just like a panda bear.
And then you can just press tab to move to the next one.
Okay, the next one I see is this really cool, almost Spider-Man looking black duck with like almost silverish like spider webbing around it. That just seems straight out of Spider-Man 3. That's really cool, actually.
I think it's like a tile.
Is it? Is that what it's supposed?
No, it kind of looks like a graph.
A graph.
Yeah,
No,
the graph.
I
I see the graph. I see the graph more than I see the tile.
Maybe like
I think
a water chart.
Oh, maybe. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, so next I have like I think what is supposed to be a cow duck. It's got like black splotches and a white body, kind of like I think what a cow is supposed to be.
Mm.
Okay, and we got a leopard skin duck with a leopard skin for the body and like black wings. We got the unicorn duck, which I think is that one actually looks pretty cool. We got some kind of steampunkish duck. That's
sick.
actually really cool. That is so neat. It's like a little submarine, but it's in duck form, and it's the eyes are like two little portholes going out, and it's got like one wing is a little wheel, and the other wing is just steampunkish. That is so cool.
It's the we need to go deeper duck.
It really is. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, next we got what are these called? These are like the Russian nesting dolls. There's a name for them.
Why does this keep happening? I'm on Water Malone.
Maybe it's like out of sync. I don't know.
But
it's kind of realistic look or hyper realistic looking person.
I think you accidentally skipped the Russia nesting doll, Lucas, because the next one after that is the watermelon duck.
Weird.
The other one I have is another nesting duck that looks like a watermelon. The colors are similar to a watermelon, where it's yellow and green.
If you go to the one after that, does it do watermelon next?
Yes, that is watermelon after that.
Okay.
Watermelon.
That's actually a really cool design. I love how it has the little seeds and it's got the little base of the duck is green with the watermelon. That's really cool. I like that a lot. After that, we got not a magic 8 ball. It's like an 8 cue ball duck. He's got the little 8 on the side of his head. It's cute. Okay, this was the duck that I was not sure what to call earlier. I just called him Big Head Duck because he's got a sweatband and he's got a very, very large head in comparison to the rest of his body. Then we
Yeah.
got looks like a bull duck. He's black and has like white horns. Maybe he's supposed to be like a demon duck. I'm not
No,
sure.
he's a bull duck. He
He's a bull
charges
duck.
at red.
He looks really cool actually. I like the color on him. This one is hard. I'm in the cluster of ducks. Okay, I'm this is a honeycomb duck, I believe. Either that or
cheese.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
cheese,
it's cheese.
baby.
Oh, I see that now. Okay, a cheese duck. I did not think I'd ever see that. That's really interesting looking. We got a crying duck with it's blue. I do like the little tears. That's a cute touch. We got he's a stamp duck. These are I think different stamps from across the world. Yeah, it says ship to on there. That's pretty cool. I like the different designs. I think this is your duck, Lucas. It looks like it's the mallard.
That's right. Starts off as like a dirty yellow looking duck, and then it turns into it rinses off into this mallard.
Okay, that's neat. Okay, then we got next to it.
Oh, there goes the aliens.
I don't know what to call that duck. It looks like a mannequin duck is the best way I can describe it. Like it's made of the similar materials to a mannequin.
If you zoom in real close, you could see outlines and a scissors. So we thought it was like paper mache.
Oh, it could be a paper mache duck. Okay, yeah, I see that now. Oh, it's interesting. It has it around one of the eyes. That's actually kind of cool. I love the details that you can get if you zoom in. That is really cool for this game.
It's got a little.
I think the next one is a tomato duck. Am I right? Or no, maybe it's supposed to be strawberry?
Strawberry.
Strawberry duck. That's cool. I will say it's a little hard to see it without the light. If it was under a little more light, I think that would be a little easier to see.
Yeah, it's nice.
Then we got Secret Service duck. That's actually really cool. I love it. I love the little suit with the little tie and the glasses. That's awesome. Okay, so we got Hypno Duck. I kind of want to say it's a Hypno Duck, like how we have Hypno Toad in Futurama. Because he's got like the white and black patterns like a hypnotist.
I would love a hypno duck that has like the warbly eyes.
That would be really cool. We got Afro Duck. Oh, it's actually Disco Duck because he's got like a disco outfit on, and he's got an afro. I actually really like his outfit. I like the red and the white. That's cool. Let's see, what do we got next? We have a birthday duck, I think. Oh yeah, he's got a little candle, and he's got a little party hat, and he's got some pink. What would you call that? Mascara? Eyeshadow?
Eyeliner?
Eyeliner. Thank you.
Eyeshadow might be more accurate.
I'm not sure what to call it, but it's cool. It's a little bit of a party duck. Then we got, it looks like Festive Duck. He's got like a little holiday sweater on with a bell on it and some snowflakes. And we got, it's like a toy soldier duck, like from the Nutcracker. I really like that one. In real life, I actually really like Nutcrackers. I think they're really cool looking sometimes, especially if you get like different varieties of them. I really like that duck actually. That's really cool. I like how it has it's even got the little mustache on top of its duck bill. That's really clever.
A black mustache for a white beard.
Yeah. We got, looks like mud duck maybe? Ground duck?
Yeah, I'm thinking dirt.
And we got, okay, I just got splashed, so it's hard for me to say. We got Luchador Duck. I saw that one at the very beginning and was like, that one is so cool looking. I love the little mask and I love the little flames coming off of it. It's really cool looking. We have Camo Duck. That one's neat. That one's pretty self-explanatory.
This one is actually, hold on. That last one is actually deceiving. It's not Camo Duck.
Wait, no,
Oh, is it not?
There's the camouflage duck right next to it.
Oh, wait, maybe I was highlighted on the wrong
It's
one.
a chameleon duck. Whatever duck it touches, it disguises itself as that duck, and it's
That's why it's
different.
like off-colored camo. Okay, I was wondering that. I just assumed it was the lighting. That's neat.
Wait, is it camo colored for you guys? It's like a night sky for me.
It's camo for us.
Yeah.
Oh.
How do I go back? Is there a button to go back to the previous duck?
I don't think so.
Unfortunately, not. You'd have
Oh,
to tap
okay.
everything again, but you'll see the actual camo duck in a bit.
Okay, that actually makes a lot of because I just got to the fire duck, and it's got fire and plaid, and so that actually makes a lot of sense because there's another duck on fire near it, and I'm thinking that might also be a chameleon duck as well. So that's kind of funny.
So the fire is just applied. They're just lit on fire. They're not supposed to be flaming.
Oh, so this one is oh, okay. So this is like just a plaid duck, but he's on fire.
It's just a fabric plaid duck.
Oh, okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Next we have tiger striped duck. I think it's supposed to be like a Bengal tiger with the orange and the black stripes. Then we got this is another mallard, so I don't know if this is like another clone, a chameleon, or
yeah. So this is
clone one.
This is the other mallard. The ones that we pick get added in, but don't count towards the actual identity of what ducks are in the pool.
Oh, got it. Okay, that's interesting. So then after that we got donut duck. Hey, I like that one a lot. It's like a nice pink sprinkly donut duck. Looks really yummy.
It does look so good.
We got cat duck, which is pretty cool. It looks kind of reminds me of my own cat because it's got similar colors. I love the meow that it gives. Oh, we're back to the nesting duck. I don't know if this is the same exact one that I saw before. I feel like it is.
I think the ones that it drops will get
Or are they all like
mixed in.
smaller? Oh, interesting. So it's kind of like a real Russian nesting doll.
Yeah.
Okay, this one is kind of creepy. This is like a clown duck. I just don't like clowns in general. No offense to any clowns out there, but I don't I don't really like them that much. And the sound effect it makes is like a little weird. Yeah, literally, yeah. We got a what do I call this? Red chrome duck?
Yeah.
It's like a metallic duck, maybe.
It's as good as any.
After that, oh, that one is very hard for me to see because it's at the bottom. I don't know what that is actually supposed to be. I'm not really sure. Maybe another mud duck.
I think it's just
Or
stone.
Stone duck.
Oh, that's why it sank to the bottom. Okay, that makes sense. Next, oh, that's a crossword duck. That's really cool. That reminds me of the hypno duck. That's interesting. I like the pattern on it. After that, we got. Oh, this is neat. This is the what are these things called? The electro ball duck.
Tesla ball.
Tesla coil.
Tesla
yeah.
sphere.
We got the Tesla duck, not sponsored by Old Muskie.
Oh, I was like, it's Tesla's dead. What are you talking about?
Next, we have a duck with a band-aid. Is that the only difference? Oh, he's got two band-aids actually. He's got one in the back too.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the duck that I just saw in the background there, but I can't.
Oh man, that's badass.
Now we have a real. I love the color on this. It's a star duck, so it's got little stars over it, and it's got this really cool teal or aquamarine bill with eyes, which I just think looks really cool. I like that one a lot. I might have to select that one next time because that looks so cool. Next one we got is a nice red and not red, white and black polka dot duck. That one's really cool. I like the pattern as well. I almost lost the eyes on it for a second because I was like, where are the eyes? Because it kind of blends in with the other polka dots.
Camouflage.
Exactly. This one we have a duck with a smiling plant on its head. That's actually really cool. That's nice. I like the lime green color and it blends very well with the flower. We got a night duck that's jousting. That one's really cool. I like the little medieval helmet. I also like the colors underneath. That's a cool color grouping. We got okay. Which one am I looking at? Is this a positive and a negative duck bound together? That's really cool. This is bonded duck, and I love how they're opposite colors on each side. That's really cool.
They're separate ducks, actually.
Are they really? Because on my screen they're literally merged into one almost.
Yeah, I see.
So I thought it was. That's so funny. Okay. This one is that supposed to be lightning? Is that a lightning duck? Or is that just like a pattern on it?
It could be
Lucas
lightning.
knows very well about this one.
Well, no, not this one. It's the other one. This one I mistook. But I always thought of it as like a black with a gold marbling.
Oh, marbling. Okay, I could see that.
Lightning might make more sense, though. I thought that
because it looks like it's kind of like crackling energy. If you really zoom in on the smaller tips, it's hard to tell though.
Yeah, I can't.
This
say
one's
for
also
sure.
weird because the eyes really blend in. That one's a little weird. I like it, because I like the texture, but it's a little strange. We got, I think slime duck is what it's supposed to be. He's like green and then he's got like a white bottom. I think that's supposed to be that he's like covered in slime. It was sponsored by Nickelodeon. We got elf duck with a festive elf jacket or sweater and a little elf hat. That's kind of cool. We got shark duck. Yeah, it is shark duck. Oh my gosh, his face is so funny. I like his little his little mouth open. That's cute. Okay, what do we got now? We got digital duck. Here we go. We're bringing ducks to the digital age. This one's really cool actually. I love the blue color on this with the white. That's really cool. I also love the eyes. The eyes are really neat where they have that weird like circular shape, but it's like concentric rings. That's neat.
Yeah, this is
Okay,
probably
this
the
one-
actual mesh that they use.
Oh, what is? Oh, it's supposed to be a card. I'll call it card duck, I guess. It's supposed to be, I think, a king or a queen from like a deck of cards, with like a suit.
Yeah,
Or
this,
the
King of Spades.
king of spades. Thank you. That one looks cool. I actually really like. I love the facial design on that one. That one looks really neat. I like the blue. Next we have Drawdon duck. It's like a color, something you'd find like child's drawings on a piece of paper, but in duck form. That's pretty cool. I like the different colors that are on there. We have another card duck that is maybe supposed to be a queen because I maybe the queen of hearts. Is that supposed to be a heart? Yeah, I think it's the queen of hearts. That one's cool as well. I like the design on that. We have a duck in overalls. Oh my gosh, it blows bubbles. That was so perfectly timed for it to start doing that right as I was looking at it. That's neat. Is it gonna explode? Oh, it does. Oh, he gets bubblegum all over their face. That's cool. What would you guys call that one? Just overall duck?
Bubble duck.
Bubble duck? Okay, that makes sense. Oh, we have like a Christmas tree ornament duck with he's got a little not a hook, but a little rope at the top, and he's got the little fiberglass ring that connects it. You can hang it on the tree with. Then there's gingerbread duck. I'm noticing a lot of these are festive themed.
Yeah, they
This
had
is actually really cool.
a free update that included a bunch of
This is awesome. I
festive
love.
ducks.
He just reminds me of Gingerbread Man from Shrek, and I love it. I love his eyebrows. Actually, the little blue eyebrows. That's cute. This one I think is a wooden duck. Yeah, it looks like he's just made of wood. That's pretty cool. I like the concentric rings that you would actually get on like the stump of a wooden tree if you ever looked at it. That's kind of neat. It's a cool touch. We have one that fell out of the water. I don't really know what that's supposed to be.
Oh, that's disco
it's
ball
like-
duck.
Oh, it's a disco ball. Oh, it's playing the music now. I get it. I see. Okay, that's really cool.
If the other disco duck is next to it, he spins.
That's so neat. How did he fall? Where is he? He's like at some weird. What? How did he get all the way over here? He's like at some weird part. He's super far away from the water.
Yeah, he must have gotten launched out by either the explosion or maybe the bull hit nearby and launched him out as well. There's
Okay, I'm
a
having
few
some
ways it could happen.
Is this supposed to be anime duck?
Kawaii duck.
It looks. Yeah, it looks like it's supposed to be like kind of like an anime kawaii face with like the sparkle in the eyes. That's cool. We got math duck. It looks like the something will open when you find the blank. Is that solution? Oh, is the door will open when you find the solution? Have you guys actually solved the mathematical problem that's on him?
No.
Xn plus 1 is equal to
Lambda
I don't
xn?
know. Lambda, yeah, times 1 minus xn. Interesting. I'll have to apply my math knowledge to that later. But I love the coloring on him, and that's cool that they have a math duck. It's not something I would have expected. Oh, we got egg duck. He's got some egg on him. Someone cracked a yolk over his head.
Egg on his face.
That's cool. I like the blue color for the base. It's a nice color. Then we got, it looks like just a black duck with an orange bill.
Looks like it.
His eyes are actually really tripping me out right now because they're hard to see at first, and so I thought he just didn't have eyes. That's actually interesting. It's interesting design. Okay, we're back to you're right. They really aren't connected. You're right. That was weird. Back to the positive and negative ducks. I guess think I saw it from the negative perspective.
Actually, you're
Uh,
following an invisible duck.
Am I?
We
Oh, you're
are.
right. Yeah, you're right. I was super zoomed in. You're right.
Oh,
That's
okay.
interesting. Did you ever get to see it all, or is it only ever invisible?
It's only ever invisible. You can see
That's
it when you select it in the menu, and it's got a little sheet over it.
interesting. Oh, it's like a ghost duck. Cool. We got a green duck, or maybe like sea color green. That one's cool. Like the color. Okay, here's the real camo duck. I think
Yeah.
this is the one you guys are talking about. That one does look pretty cool. We got which one am I on right now? Santa Claus duck, I guess. Yeah, Santa Claus. Oh, he does a little ho ho ho. That's funny. The Santa Claus duck. We got a red duck with black eyes. We got a cactus duck. It looks like. Is that what that's supposed to be?
Yeah, I don't really understand
I
it.
think the clone is also right next to him because there's like a one that's like cloth colored, but it's opposite. I think that's the clone duck right there.
Yeah, the
There
chameleon
is
duck's next to him.
what would you call this? The duck you duck? I don't really know.
Oh yeah,
Is it like a reference or is it just saying like duck you?
just saying duck
Is
you,
that-
man.
Oh, that's funny. The hot pink colors is cool. We got reindeer duck. And we got what is this? Okay, this one I'm not really sure. It's like blue with a white head and like gold lines going through it.
This is the one I can tell you about.
China duck, maybe? It's supposed to be like a piece of broken china?
So it's
I'm
a
not sure.
there's this Japanese thing where they take broken things and repair them with gold, and it's called kintsugi
Kintsugi, that's interesting.
or kintsugi, something like that.
I've never heard of that. That's really cool, actually.
If you just look
Yeah,
up kintsugi, you can find a lot of really interesting stuff online.
That's such like a niche thing. That's so cool they made that like a duck. That's cool. We're back to the. I think this is supposed to be the positive negative again.
There we
It
are.
looks like I'm looking at it from the positive side. I already kind of talked with them, so I'm gonna move on. Oh, it's Dia de los Muertos duck.
That's what I said.
Oh, I love it's got really cool colors on it. I like that a lot. And I love the bluebell. I really like the colors on that one. Let's see what.
Oh, now we're at
Is that another panda duck?
yeah, we're at
Is
the
that...
true panda duck.
Oh, this is the real one. Okay. It's just like my duck, so I think it's pretty cool. We got what is this? It's like a Buck Rogers duck. That's really interesting. Yeah, it's like the logo and the outfit of like the old Buck Rogers cartoons from way back when.
What is Buck Rogers?
Okay, so Buck Rogers. So I've shown you Flash Gordon, I think, before, Lucas. This Buck Rogers was the pre-Flash Gordon that was mostly, I think, in comic book form back in like, I want to say like the 30s and 40s is when it came out. But he was essentially like a guy who went into space and was like the savior of like space Earth, basically.
Are we looking at the same duck?
I think so.
Like the Robo Duck?
Oh, is it supposed to be a robot? It totally is the Buck Rogers colors.
Every picture I see of Buck Rogers, he's wearing almost exclusively white.
No, normally his uniform's supposed to be like a white mixed with a red. So like a main color.
I haven't seen a single thing like that yet. Let me see if I can.
I'll find one for you, and I'll try to show it to you.
Yeah, he's got like colored armbands, but everything else about him is white.
Weird. That's okay. I'll find a picture later and send that to you. Okay. So I can see the robot now. Now that I'm looking at the bill, I see that it like the Robo Duck part. That's interesting. I think you're probably right. I think it's supposed to be a robot, but that's super cool though. Either way.
Yeah.
I love the colors on it.
And this is the one that releases a tiny one that explodes.
Oh wait. Oh, that's this one. Oh, see, I saw a different one earlier do that. This is the one I'm looking at is like multicolored.
It's like red. It's got two little. Oh, there it is. It just dropped it.
Nope. I am looking at a different duck then.
Okay.
I'm looking at one that has pink on top, red in the middle, orange, then yellow, then green, then blue, then it's like a rainbow duck.
Oh.
But the
This is
RGB duck.
Oh, this is Pride Duck. Wait, were we
Pride
still
Duck.
talking about the Buck Rogers?
No, I finished that one. I moved on.
Oh yeah, no, that's what I was talking about. That's the robo duck.
Oh, that's the robot duck. Okay, I also think I was still looking at a different duck then, but I'm
Because the
I'm
one I
not
was
sure
looking
now.
at just released another explosive.
Okay, no, this one's just kind of going along. So that's Pride Duck. Interesting. What am I looking at? Is that Broken Marble? It's like a white duck with like black, tons of like broken black lines.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you.
Like Smash Duck. I don't know what to call that.
Somebody once told me.
Pretty much. This one is cool. This is a blue rock duck. It's like gem encrusted. That's unique. It also it does have eyes, but they're very hard to see. The no eye thing, for some reason just really detracts from the overall, but I love the color of it.
Their bump
We
mapping is
got
amazing.
the what?
Bump mapping. It's what makes it look like it's got depth and whatnot. These are all the same exact
Oh.
shape, but they like.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's really good. Anyway,
We got pink duck with white lightning, which looks really cool. It's like maybe like a race car duck.
oh, I see that. Duck.
Either-
Okay.
Yeah, it's got like the white lightning with like little blue polka dots and then like a pink base. I'm gonna call that racing duck just because I think that would make a cool racing car. All right. Next duck is actually David's duck. It's the rocket duck. That one's actually really cool. Is there a way to light the rocket on fire?
Yeah, it's
Oh.
got to get like the other ducks are lit on fire. You have to.
It just
Oh.
happened, I think.
Is it gonna light up?
Yeah, it's on fire.
Trying to.
Dropping
I
sparks.
want to. Yeah, I want to stay on it. Oh, it is. Oh, but it doesn't actually get shorter or like explode or anything.
It does. I don't know how long it takes though.
Oh. I want to see it, but I'll come back to it later then. It's a cool looking dog. What's on the backpack that it has underneath the rocket? Are those stickers?
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Interesting. So it's like rocket duck. We got skeleton duck, spooky, scary duck. Pretty cool. We got rocker duck. I feel like it's supposed to be like one of the Kiss rockers. It's got like the black eye makeup and like the white body.
That's what it looks like to me.
Pretty cool.
Gene Simmons, the duck.
We're back to me. I am the panda. Does that mean did I go through them all now?
Yeah, did we? Did it? Oh, here's the
There's only-
alien.
I checked. There was only I think there was like 2 that it skipped. There was the fire-breathing dragon duck.
Yeah, that's the one that I was trying to find because I saw
Oh,
that going
yeah.
off in the background.
If you go forward a couple
Oh,
more.
I found the alien duck actually.
Yeah, it'll
I
put
found
you
the alien
for
one.
to
That
them.
one's cool looking. It's got like it's supposed to be like one of the traditional like green guy type aliens with the big eyes. That's neat. Oh, is that the dragon duck? It's kind of got like a lizard appearance.
Yeah, with the
That
And
one's
then
red
after,
really
eyes.
after him
cool.
is the most recent duck, which is a floral duck.
Ooh, let's see that one. Oh, that one's pretty. I like the
Huh.
flowers. I love the blue coloring for the base duck. I love that shade of blue. That's awesome.
Periwinkle. Is that what that is?
Well, Lucas, let's send our lovely audience home.
Oh, all right. We've got so many ducks right now. Where are we at? We're at 84.
84 ducks.
84, and one more's coming in like 2 seconds. But while that's happening, I'll go ahead and say thank you guys so much for listening and or watching. Whoa.
What do we get?
Click the new duck. Terminator
Terminator
duck.
duck. How
Wait.
accurate to what we were just talking about.
Let's see. Wait, I lost him. Where'd he go?
He's kind of in the middle next to
Oh, I
Slime Duck.
see him. That is cool looking. That is, guys, go click on him. Like actually click on him.
Well, yeah, that's.
You can see it from his perspective. That's so neat.
And it looks like it just
so
does that. Oh,
cool.
imposter.
Oh, maybe you found the chameleon duck.
Is it watching a specific duck?
I think it is.
Is
'Cause
it?
it seems to be kind of like following that same route.
Oh,
it switched
it's
to it. It
just
switched to it, I
scanning
think.
various ones.
That is such a cool overlay and effect. I love that. That is so cool.
That's awesome. What's it look like? Oh, neat. It's
Yeah,
kind of like a
it's super
RoboCop
futuristic
looking.
Yeah. I dig the color that it is too. It's like that got that blue, same really cool blue color.
That's awesome. Anyway. Oh, the flamingo got killed. I didn't even notice.
There was a flamingo.
Yeah, the big flamingo floaty that was on the corner of the pool. It must have gotten stabbed or something because it's gone. But thank you
Moment
guys
of
so
silence
much
for the flamingo.
for listening, watching. This has been the Placid Plastic Podcast. Oh, and the Ninja Duck also was probably hiding, so here he is. Man, it just keeps going, doesn't it? Hit subscribe if you want to see more of this stuff. Hit like if you've enjoyed listening to us discuss the virtual realities that we might come across. And thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.